So here's a short video for faculty who are interested in details on changing their clicker frequency. So why do you need to worry about the frequency of your clicker system? The problem occurs if two faculty near each other, and that can actually be pretty far away, but near each other, certainly within the same building, are both using clickers. If you were both using clickers and we didn't change this issue of frequency, then you would get their students' votes in addition to your own when you were voting and vice versa. And this actually can make for some very amusing situations. So to deal with that, we have the option to change frequencies. By default, all the base stations and all the student clickers are set to a frequency called AA. That's just the basic one. But your base station in your room will likely have a sticker on it that has a different frequency on it, and that's something that they've done to balance all the clickers out in the area so that people won't have this problem of overlapping votes. So when that's the case, there are two things that need to happen. First, you, the instructor, must change your iClicker software and also your instructor remote if that's what you're doing, if you're using that. And then additionally, your students have to change their clicker frequency, and depending on which kind of clicker they have, that could happen each lecture. Let's talk about that first, and then I'll walk you through how to change your own clicker frequency. So here's a slide that I will provide for you that you can show to students on how to change their frequency. And you could put it up a couple of times the first couple of class sessions. We're going to show two different options for the two different kind of clickers students normally have at UCSD. If they have what we call the iClicker 1 or the old iClicker, then what they're going to do is press and hold the power button on the remote until the vote status light begins flashing. Now it turns out they have to have already turned it on first, but they can usually figure that out. So when that is flashing, then they type in the two buttons that correspond to the frequency that should be of use in your room. So you need to write that up on the board so that they can do that. So if it's BC, then they would push power and hold till a vote status flashes, and then hit B and C, and that's it. And at that point, the voting LED flashes green, indicating it was successful. Now the problem is, after they do this with this clicker, it doesn't remember this change once it's turned off. So every time they come into your classroom, they're going to need to remember to do that. So you're probably going to need to have a little reminder up on one of your slides, or you should tell the students, hey, why don't you take a pen or a pencil and write that on your front of your textbook, your notebook, on the clicker itself, etc. We're getting fewer and fewer original iClickers, so this problem will go away fairly quickly in the next couple of years. The new iClicker 2s, they look like these guys down here, and they've got a screen, which is called the LED screen, and or the LCD screen, sorry. So what they will do is press and hold the power button, which is this guy over here on the right, until the two-letter frequency on the LCD flashes. So on the screen, it's going to flash likely AA. Okay? And at that point, they can now change that. So again, just as they would in the above situation, they press two buttons, say BC, to switch to the BC frequency. And a check mark will appear on the screen next to that, indicating it was successful. Now, for both of these things to happen, it turns out you as the professor need to already have your base station plugged in and turned on and have set the frequency for the class in your iClicker software to be that frequency that you're supposed to be using. We've been talking about BC. So you're going to need to do some things first for the students to be able to do that. So what do you need to be able to do? Well, again, go into the classroom that you have, look for this base station, okay, and it should have a sticker, sort of, usually I think right there, maybe it's in the other corner, that just has two letters, AA, AB, AC. That's the frequency we would like you to use with your students in this room. So you need to set this up to work on both your software and on your, if you're going to use your clicker in the classroom to control voting, you'll need to do that. Let's start by looking at the software, and we'll see what sorts of crazy things we have hidden on here. So here's my iClicker guy. I'm going to run the iClicker program. If you haven't created a class yet, create the class. This is going to be like, COGS 101, 8 a.m. or something. You only need to use one of those. Now for my COGS 101 8 a.m. class, I'm in a room where my clicker frequency says it should be AD. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that class. And I can go ahead and start the session, but I can also right here click on my settings and set some things up. Okay, so one thing I can do is make sure that I have my instructor's remote ID set up. And if you don't know how to do that, then basically flip your blue remote over, and on the back right there it's going to have a number. You want to type that number into this box here. It's going to be like 34AD 6742A. So 8 characters. And apparently I didn't have an appropriate one. I don't have a clicker right here with me, so I was making something up. But you'll get put 8 characters in that come off the back of your blue clicker. And then, because remember we're changing the frequency, this should go frequency to be AD. Okay, so we're going to do that AD. Now it says when the frequency code is not set to the default AA, which we've now done it to AD, it's going to show an alert message at the beginning of every vote, okay, to make sure students are reminded. You may get annoyed by that, and when it does that, it'll give you the option to say not to show it again in the future. But you give it some options there too. You can manually close. It'll show up for 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 5 seconds, not at all. Usually the manually closed thing works fairly well. Gives you a chance to do that. So I'm going to hit start set for the session. Okay. And now my clicker session is going to go for AB. If I hit start session, it's looking for bases using the same frequency, which in this case is AB. And not finding any, it's going to bring this up. Now, if I'd forgotten to set my frequency by doing that, you actually can also do it by going on this little toolbar option here and go to My Settings. And then again, you have that same option to set your frequency at that point. So if you get past it and you can remember, that's another option that you can do. And that should allow you to set your frequency for your software. At that point, again, if you want your instructor remote to actually work, besides putting in the instructor remote number in that software, you're going to have to change your instructor remote's frequency to be AD in this case, what it is. So again, you would follow the same procedure the students would do. Push and hold the power button until this blinks, and then press AD, and you'll get a little check mark right there. And now your clicker will also be set on the AD frequency. Hope this was a helpful video.